Hi, everybody. This is Empowering Democracy. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. Tonight we have another Dump the Corruption show, and we'll be going through 5 of the Democratic senators to see what their fundraising has been about. I want to say hi to a few people who are here at this point, though I don't see them in the comments, so I don't know who they are. Anyway, the 5 senators that we're going to treat here tonight are Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, Brian Schatz of Hawaii, Ron Wyden of Oregon, and Sherrod Brown, of Ohio. All 5 are a little left of center in relation to the Democratic Party spectrum in the Senate. So I want to start with Kirsten Gillibrand. I should say at this point, I'm expecting Dee Peers to join me in just a few minutes. I was late by a couple of minutes tonight, and the reason why was that we were starting to have a very scintillating conversation over at Dee's show, Around the World with Dee and Friends, about some of the Green Party dynamics here in the United States, which Madeline Hoffman, of course, is an expert on, because she's been very active in the Green Party for a very long time, has run as a Green Party candidate, and is the chair of an important committee for the Green Party. So she was our expert about what the political dynamics are right now, in the Green Party. But anyway, what I want to start with here tonight is the numbers on Kirsten Gillibrand, who, of course, has been the senator from New York for many years now. I forget how many terms that she's been the senator. The last time she ran was in 2018, and she is due to run again this coming cycle in 2024. In 2018, and we have to remember that even though 2018 was a big spending election, the money that's been flowing into these Senate elections since 2018 has been really, really huge. And most recently, it was astonishing in some of the 2022 elections. So I think the money that was going into the campaigns in 2018 was very much less than the 2022 election. But anyway, getting to Kirsten Gillibrand's race in 2018, she won with 67.0% of the vote. Her Republican opponent was Shelley Farley, who was really outgunned, still got about 33% of the vote. But Gillibrand raised $20,360,000 in that race. She spent $12 million of it, and she emerged with cash on hand of $10.3 million, which of course she retains for her next race in 2024. That is, of course, a pretty good start. The best that Shelley Farley, the Republican, could do was she raised 1.4 million. I think that's a she, I'm not sure, in 2018, and spent 1.3 million coming out with a war chest of only 15,338 for any future races. Also, Scott Noren, who ran as an independent, got 0% of the vote and raised 63,270, spent 66,209, and emerged with 10,167. There was some outside spending in the race. About 47,000 was in support of Kirsten Gillibrand, but she had 260,265 in outside spending that was opposing her. I'm not sure where that came from. It'll be interesting to see. Shelley Farley got $15,050 in support of her in outside spending, 0, in opposition to her. So let's look at the candidates tab. That always tells us where the money came from, not specifically where, but where in relation to broad categories it came from. So Kirsten Gillibrand did raise 33% of her money, $6.6 million from small dollar donations of less than $200, less than or equal to $200. But she raised $12 million in large individual contributions. That was roughly 59% of what she raised. And PAC contributions, $1.258 million, or 6% of what she raised. She did no self-financing. There was $407,899 in the other category. So she fails, the litmus test because of the large number on her large individual contributions. A lot of rich and well-off people supported her to the tune of $12,031,625. And of course, PAC contributions, which were, if not substantial for a Senate race, still relatively substantial at $1,258,000. So she's our first candidate to bite the dust for tonight. Shelley Farley got $237,000 in individual contributions, $238,000. That was 17.9% of what she raised. So she was even less good than Kirsten Gillibrand and small donations. Kirsten Gillibrand did raise enough from small donations, though, that she could have rejected all the other donations and probably handily won the Senate race. In other words, since she got $6.6 million in small individual contributions, that was plenty to way outspend the total amount of money that was raised by Shelley Farley. Kirsten Gillibrand would survive challenges if it was solely based on small individual contributions. But regardless, she fails, the litmus test, as does Shelley Farley, who had $888,000 of her total, 64% of it coming from large individual contributions. She had very little PAC money at $21,500, but she self-financed $238,000, which also gets added to the large individual contributions category. So over $1 million of her money came from large individual contributions, which indicates that she fails the litmus test, okay, as well. So the third candidate in the race, who didn't get any votes, virtually none, raised $63,270. 57 of that was in candidate self-financing. So, of course, he fails, okay, the litmus test as well. Let's see where people's money came from. When we look at the contributors, we have Kirsten Gillibrand. Law firms came in strongly for her: Davis, Polk, and Wardwell, $204,000. And Boies, Schiller, okay, and Flexner. You may remember David Boies has been a very prominent lawyer, at least since the elections of 2000. His firm gave $160,260. Paul Weiss et al. I don't know if that's a law firm. That may be, okay, a campaign consulting firm. Paul Weiss, okay, et al. They gave $129,305. Then, okay, from Aiken Gump, their law firm, $96,208. Sullivan and Cromwell, another D.C. law firm, boy, $73,000 from them. So Gillibrand raised a lot of money from law firms. Oh, there is Wachtel, Lipton et al. They're another law firm, $68,000 from them. There are substantial contributions from Pfizer here for her, $59,000 from Pfizer. Kirkland, K & Ellis, another D.C. law firm. She is very strong with D.C. law firms. Kirkland and Ellis gave $56,000. The Blackstone Group gave Kirsten Gillibrand $46,000. Of course, that's a very well-known financial and investment group. She got $40,000 from Arnold and Porter. Arnold and Porter, K. Scholar. So it's interesting to see who her contributions came from. Did she get anything from Goldman Sachs? There's no. Kirsten Gillibrand didn't get anything from Goldman Sachs, at least nothing large from Goldman Sachs. But Shelley Farley got $29,100 from Goldman Sachs. She wasn't able to raise a lot of money, though, okay, in general. Let's look at industries. That's going to be revealing, I can tell already. Lawyers and law firms, yeah, $2.5 million for Kirsten Gillibrand. Retired people, $1.4 million. Securities and investment, $1.1 million. $703,000 from real estate industries. TV, movies, and music, $583,000. Health professionals, $368,000. Nonprofit institutions, $330,000. Leadership PACs, $279,000, $288,000. So Kirsten Gillibrand is very popular with the establishment of the Democratic Party, quite clearly, even though she's a relatively lefty senator. On key bills, she usually positions herself in the announcement of those bills very, very closely to Bernie Sanders. She often is at his elbow. So it's strange because when she first got started, uh, she was always at Hillary Clinton's elbow, but she seems to have replaced Hillary Clinton with Bernie Sanders of late. I have to say that I think that's a step up. In the sectors, she got 99,000 from agribusiness, 1.4 million from communications and electronics, 2.5 million from the fire sector, 118,000 from energy and natural resources. From the health sector, 691,210. From lawyers and lobbyists, 2,658,000. And from other groups, 2.6 million. 842,000 from ideology single issue groups. So those were the ones supporting her. By the way, the fire sector supported Shelley Farley to the tune of 277,000. Nowhere near as much as they gave to Kirsten Gillibrand. So I'm going to take a look at outside spending here because I think that may be of some interest. I just want to see who the people were who were so in opposition to Gillibrand. Super PAC called National Horizon spent 197,265 in opposition to her. Rebuilding New York PAC spent 78,000 in opposition to her. The Progressive Turnout Project spent 46,000, probably in support of her. That's probably where she got the 47,000 in support. So that's where the outside spending came from. That National Horizon Super PAC, I don't know anything about them, but they spent a good bit of money against her. Of course, it was a futile expenditure because she had such a big advantage in monetary support for her campaign. Moving on, we have some comments. I'm going to quickly go over some of them. Okay, Robert Copeland is here. He says, wait till the 2024 elections. Steve says, hi, Doc. Robert, things are going to get crazy. Robert says, Steve, you're most likely correct. Robert says, Blackstone is one evil company that needs to be brought down to a much smaller company. Yeah, I agree. But it's not as big as BlackRock. So Steve Wolfman says, Doc, AI job displacement, UFO disclosure. You got to step up your game. Things are changing fast. Steve, I'm not doing a general news show here. I'm specializing in particular areas. Those areas are the changes in the international system, which are occurring very fast. What's happening to neoliberalism in the context of the body politic, I consider that a hugely important issue. And then, of course, I'm all about, the dump the corruption issue. Those are my three major things. I'm not trying to compete with the general news shows that go after the hot news, generally speaking. I'm focused on the things that I think are the most important things going on, in politics. The AI job displacement is a very interesting issue. but I don't think it's yet one of the major issues that we face, especially since we can resort to federal job guarantees to supply jobs if that gets to be a very serious problem. As far as UFO disclosure, I think UFO disclosure is very important as well, but I don't think that it submerges the other issues that I am dealing with. And frankly, I don't have time to deal with UFO disclosure as well. So I'm going to leave that to other people. Doc, RFK or Cornell. Steve, I haven't really decided yet. Okay, I love Cornell. I love his policy positions, what he's for. I don't have as much confidence in him in terms of what may or may not be his capability for handling the bureaucracy, the internals of the federal government. I think uh, that he's going to get a huge amount of opposition from the powers that be. Uh, he may be able to overcome them. Of course, I'm waiting to see about that. I fully acknowledge his inspirational value and his leadership strength in that particular area. Of course, I like him very well, and I like what he stands for. On RFK, I am undecided. I was really astonished at the ignorance that RFK, exhibited or appeared to exhibit uh, when it came to the issues of the minimum wage, which I've heard him discuss. I was also astonished by uh, what I thought was his relative lack of knowledge about the issues concerning Medicare for all. And when I heard him talk lately about how strong a believer he is in free market uh, uh, capitalism, I began to question his very sanity, because there is no such thing as free market capitalism in the United States. And even though I know he believes he can probably restore some of the power of free markets because he's really hot when it comes to regulation, I would have to point out to him that uh, if we have a strong regulatory sector, and that's very, very important in terms of our government, which I very strongly favor, that is not a free market system. You can't say you believe in free market uh, capitalism and believe as strongly as he apparently does, in regulation. Those two things are incompatible, in my view. So I have a lot of questions with respect to Robert and his stands, on the issues. From what I've seen, I like him very well personally. He seems to be a person of courage. He seems to be someone who's very well oriented on issues of peace, and war. Uh, I love him when he starts talking about civil liberties and things like that. Those are hugely important. But I have no reason to believe that he's better on those issues than Cornel West. So I have questions about the two of them. My questions about Cornell relate to what I think are his ability to pull off a revolution if he became the president, to actually have the kind of impact on the federal government and its internals that Franklin Roosevelt did. I think along that dimension, that RFK is probably a stronger candidate. But in the area of being an inspirational leader and in the area of positions on various issues that are very key to me, right now, I don't see that RFK is as good, as Cornel West. So Robert Copeland says, I think Cornel West would help out the Green Party. I do have to mention, in response to Robert Copeland, that, I didn't mention, in other words, if you're talking about RFK or Cornel, one huge difference is that Cornel is running third party. And if he were to get very, very, very popular, that is very, very consistent with my dump the corruption theme. If Cornel West could run, on dump the corruption and really light a fire under that campaign, then there's a chance that he could break the two-party system. And we need that so badly, so badly.
He's the answer to what we need for dumping the corruption.
That has served us, the two-party system has served us so ill for so many years now. I mean, for so many years now, that I can't begin to express my hatred for the current two-party system that we have now. And I think insofar as Cornel would break that, that would be very, very good. RFK would not break that, but to be fair, he could define, the Democratic Party entirely differently if he won, in the primaries. He could get the present DNC people out of there. He could break the consultants' hold, on the Democratic Party. And he could create a Democratic Party that represents the people much more closely than has been the case for a very, very long time. So both of them have something to offer in relation to change. If RFK ran on a dump the corruption idea, he too could really make very valuable contributions for us. But I think when we look at the idea of breaking the two-party system, that certainly Cornel West has a big advantage over Robert Kennedy along that particular dimension. So that's what I think about these candidates. But I have to get back to the candidates that I'm evaluating here tonight, even though I know that's not nearly as exciting as talking about different candidates. But my second candidate for tonight, and I will share her, is Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin.
Okay. You have to bring her up.
Yeah, I know. I got her.
I just want to say, Steve Wolfbrand says about the AI job displacement, that's a big issue.
I don't think that's a big issue to me, and I'll tell you why, Dee. I don't think you were here for that. We can solve the AI jobs issue with the job guarantee program directly and quickly. So it's a question of, if people get excited enough about it and they get behind doing something about it, we can have a job guarantee program and that's it. we can easily think of jobs that the AIs are not going to be able to do for a very, very long time. So to me, the AI issue is a bunch of hot crap. There's not
The thing is the
no
corporations.
real political substance to it. Specifically, it's much more important to worry about the neoliberalism issue, the changes in the international system, okay, and dump the corruption than it is to worry about the AI factor. Okay, I mean, I know I could do some articles, okay, on AI. I know a lot about AI. I did a lot of work, okay, in AI during the 1990s myself, uh, but I just don't think it's as important as the neoliberal domination.
Oh, I understand that is the important issue. It's
I don't
neoliberalism.
think I don't think it's as important as not the corruption. I don't think it's as important as the realignments in the international system that we're seeing right now. I think that those and the climate emergency are the biggest issues of our time. And I don't think that AI is there yet.
Well, I think if we get everything else straightened out, then AI won't be a factor.
Well, the point is, we'll be able to counter the AI advances, we'll be able to make use of them and still provide all the jobs for people that people
Mhm.
want if we have a federal job guarantee program. And we would be able to make them, okay, at a living wage.
Yes,
Okay, those who are excited about the AI people looking at it from the context of their idea that corporations are going to continue to dominate everything. So if the AIs can replace the human beings, then everybody's going to be out on the street because the AIs are going to be doing their job and the corporations are going to continue to dominate. But my idea is that what we should be doing is preventing the domination of the corporations. Then the AI
exactly.
goes away.
Exactly.
That's what I'm about. And that's why I think what I'm doing is much more important than spending a lot of time on FNAI.
No, I was going to say you explained it that these other things are have to come about to stop the corporate with their plans.
Yeah, I think so. So that's why I want to primarily focus on the other things. Let others who are excited by the latest trends to handle the AI stuff.
But you're getting rid of it by bringing this forward. What you're bringing forward is countering that whole corporate AI stuff.
Yeah, okay. I think that's true. So I am showing Tammy Baldwin now, right? Her page is up.
Yes, you are.
Great. Okay, so let's go to that one. So she got 55.4% of the vote when she last ran, which was, I think, also in 2018. Yes, it was in 2018. She's due to run again in 2024. She's up. So she raised $30.9 million. We can note here that was more than Kirsten Gillibrand raised. She spent a little more than that, $30.932 million, ended with 142,193 cash on hand. She had a more powerful opponent. Her name was Leah Vukmir, and she raised $5.7 million and spent about $5.7 million. She ended up with $42,360 cash on hand, and she ended up with 44.5% of the vote. So that's not that close an election at the senatorial level. You would consider Tammy Baldwin to have won that pretty handily, but also Leah Vukmir was pretty strong considering that uh, she was outspent by 6 times and she still got 44.5% of the vote. Why did things go that way? Well, Wisconsin these days is a purple state. It's different. Okay, New York, uh, okay, is a blue state. So Kirsten Gillibrand had a big advantage in that state because, she's blue all the way. Anyway, in outside spending here, Tammy Baldwin had
Mhm.
2.8 in support of herself and 8.8 million in opposition to herself. A lot of external groups got in here to try to beat her. Kevin Nicholson, one of the Republican candidates, got 7.7 million in outside spending in favor of him and 1.349 thousand opposed to him. So net gain of more than 6 million in outside support, whereas Tammy Baldwin had a net loss of 6 million in outside spending support. The eventual Republican candidate, who was Leah Vukmir, who got the 45.5% of the vote, got 1.981 million in support and 3,553,000 in opposition to her. So she had a net loss in external campaign support of roughly 1.6 or $7 million. Nowhere near the net loss Tammy Baldwin suffered, but again, Tammy Baldwin raised so much money that she was able to get her message out and still win the campaign. When we look at the candidates page, uh, we see Tammy Baldwin's money. There was a lot of it that came from small individual contributions, $10.976 million, close to 11 million there. That was 36% of what she raised. In the area of large individual contributions, uh, she raised 16.3 million. Remember, the large individual contributions are greater than $200. So those kinds of contributions are given by fairly well-off people. So she was taking money from fairly well-off people to the tune of $16.3 million, 53% of her support. Her PAC contributions were $2.4 million, 7.63% of her support. So on those two grounds, she fails, the litmus test. The second of our candidates to bite the dust. Uh, Wait a minute, that was not Leah Vukmir. No, that was Tammy Baldwin. When we get to Leah Vukmir, uh, she raised $1.1 million in small donations. In large individual contributions, 68% of what she raised. She had $3.9 million and $327,000 in PAC support. So she flunks the litmus test on those two grounds, as well. So let me get to uh, contributors. Tammy Baldwin got 214,000 from J Street PAC, 209,000 from University of Wisconsin, 183,000 from Democracy Engine, from University of Wisconsin and Madison, about $160,000. League of Conservation Voters, $94,000. Yeah, Tammy Baldwin is relatively strong on the environment. The Women Count PAC, she got $89,000. Okay, Emily's list gave her $85,000. She's definitely a feminist candidate. She's pretty good with law firms. She's good with university support. She's good, okay, on women's issues. Since J Street actually likes her, that indicates that she's relatively friendly to Palestinian rights. So that's pretty much where our money is coming from. But let's go to the industries and the sectors. That will be more illuminating. Let's see how she does in the fire sector in particular. In the retired sector, she got $4.5 million in support. That's a strong area for her. She gets a lot of old people support. On women's issues, $1.749 million. Lawyers and law firms, $1.5 million. Education, $1.2 million from Democratic and liberal groups. She got $1 million. Health professionals, $821,000. She didn't get a lot from the fire sector. They're way down. From lobbyists, she got $280,000. They were pretty way down too, compared to the other groups. Human rights groups, she gets $361,000. Civil servants, public officials, $343,000. Health services, HMOs, $279,000. From environmental groups, $266,000. That's a lot from environmental groups because they don't have as much money to give. Pro-Israel groups, $240,000. That's probably J Street again. Leah Vukmir got $1.1 million from the retired people. Not nearly as much as Tammy Baldwin did. $204,000 from securities and investments. Leadership PACs, $201,000. Real estate, $203,000. Health professionals, $147,000. Lawyers and law firms, $117,000. So those are her big industries. If we look at it from the sectoral point of view, she got $339,000 from agribusiness, $1.1 million from communications electronics, $1.789 million from the fire sector. I wonder which parts of the fire sector. That's an awful lot of money from the fire sector. From the health sector, $1.456 million. That's also a lot. Lawyers and lobbyists, $1.8 million. From miscellaneous business, $1.5 million. From labor, $336 million. From ideology, single issue voters, $4.4 million. So she's very strong on the ideology, single issues. She's very strong in terms of feminist issues, including pro-choice, of course. And so she raised a lot of money there. Okay, Leah Vukmir, her sectors, agribusiness, $168,000. Fire sector again, $604,000. They both raised a lot from the fire sector. She raised $472,000 from ideology single issue voters. She probably raised it on the conservative side. Maybe she's anti-choice or something like that. So the other thing I want to look at, well, she did raise some PAC money. Let me look at PACs and see where she was concentrated in the PACs. Business PACs gave Tammy Baldwin $1.4 million. Labor PACs gave her $311,000. PACs, $685,000. And Leah Vukmir got $52,000 from business PACs, $10,000 from labor PACs. and 255,000 from ideological PACs. So that's interesting. Outside spending. Since there was considerable outside spending, we want to look at that and see who was involved. Okay, AFL-CIO gave to Tammy Baldwin $22,643. Okay, American Bridge, 21st Century, $50. That's nothing. Okay, American Federation of State, City, Municipal Employees, that is AFSCME, $38,735. A Republican group, okay, American Majority Action, spent $51,589. Republican group, Americans for Prosperity, spent $2.5 million. We can be sure that was going against Tammy Baldwin. Americans for Prosperity Action, which is their super PAC, spent $30,650 in opposition to Tammy Baldwin. America's PAC, which is also a super PAC on the right, spent $3,780,000 in opposition to Tammy Baldwin. So those were the big PACs. CFG Action Wisconsin, that's another Republican PAC, $2.4 million, probably in external spending against Tammy Baldwin. Okay, Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee spent $400,000 in support of Tammy Baldwin. The Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce spent $1.657,292,000, probably in opposition to Tammy Baldwin, or support for Leah Vukmir. I can't say which in this instance. Human Rights Campaign Equality Votes spent $495,000 in favor of Tammy Baldwin. And the John Bolton Super PAC probably spent $560,570 in opposition to Tammy Baldwin. So those were the big numbers coming from the super PACs. Oh, here's one more. Restoration PAC, which is a super PAC, spent $4.637775 million in opposition to Tammy Baldwin. And the Senate Majority PAC, which is a Democratic PAC, Chuck Schumer's PAC, super PAC actually, spent $1,033,000 in favor of Tammy Baldwin. Solutions for Wisconsin, a Republican super PAC, spent $1,248,000. What's astonishing here is how the super PACs and the rich PACs dwarf the contributions of the smaller PACs. Now look at this one. Wisconsin Next, the PAC, which is actually a super PAC, spent $4.941 million. I don't know whether they spent that against Tammy Baldwin, but probably. Huge spending from the super PACs in that campaign. Not enough to defeat Tammy Baldwin, however. But Tammy Baldwin did fail the litmus test. So our third candidate was Brian Schatz from Hawaii. He raised $4.7 million, spent $4.8 million Ended with cash on hand of $2.1 million. Hawaii is a heavily Democratic state. Okay, Fina Bonawin, who was a Libertarian candidate, raised $20,913 and spent the same amount of money. There was outside spending in support of Brian Schatz, $18,143. No other outside spending. Looking at the candidates tab, we get also Brian Schatz, I have to remark, is a pretty lefty senator. He's generally pretty closely associated with the small Bernie Sanders camp. His small individual contributions, though, were only 6.40% of what he raised, about $300,000. His campaign focused on PAC contributions and large individual contributions. 47% of what he raised, $2.190 million, was from large individual contributions. PAC contributions, $1.945 million, 42% of what he raised. I'm just going to go look at the industries, the sectors, and the PACs now.
Okay, you have to get it up on the screen.
Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
Oh, by the way, he ran for the Senate in 2022. So these are 2022 figures that we're getting, as opposed to the other two candidates we covered ran in 2018 and are due to run again in 2024. I don't know whether Brian Schatz has a 6-year term or whether he was filling in somebody else's term. So I'm not sure whether he's running in 2024, but of course, that can easily be looked up. But his top industries were leadership PACs, $347,000, lawyers and law firms, $281,000, miscellaneous issues, $227,000, real estate, $203,000, casinos and gambling, $196,000, lobbyists, $193,000. Okay, retired people, $144,000. Public sector unions, $111,000. Transportation unions, $102,000. And there were smaller contributions. From fisheries and wildlife, he got $59,400. $60 from miscellaneous defense, he got $59,260. Okay, let's take a look at the sectors tabs. We've got communications electronics, 387,632. Construction, 92,000. Defense, 117,000. That's a fairly large amount of money because it's out of the $4 million that he raised. Fire sector, 529,000. Lawyers and lobbyists, 474,000. Health, 206,000. Transportation, 376,000. Labor, 306,574. That's fairly large for that sector also. The ideology single issue, 661,924. That was probably on the issue of choice and Maybe on issues of foreign policy also, I don't know. Let's look at the PACs, maybe that will be illuminating. You got 1 million from business PACs, 252,000 from labor PACs, 275,000 from the ideological PACs. Not really too illuminating there. Schatz, of course, won rather handily, 71.2% of the vote, to 1.2% of the vote to Fina Bonowin. I don't know what happened to the other percentages of the vote. It's not, reported on here. They were probably divided among a lot of candidates. So Hawaii is heavily Democratic. The incumbent is Brian Schatz. Unless there's a lot of special interest money coming in against him, he will probably win the next time that he runs. But he also is one who fails the litmus test, got an awful lot of PAC money and an awful lot of large individual contributions as a percentage of what he raised. So he fails the litmus test too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like him as a senator. He's usually on the right side of issues, but, there it is. The fourth candidate we'll consider tonight is Ron Wyden. Ron, who's the senior senator from Oregon, raised $13.8 million, spent about $13.8 million. He spent a little more than he raised, but not much more. He ended with cash on hand of $3.3 million. Jo Rae Perkins ran against him. She raised $124,000, spent $146,000, ended with cash on hand of $31,338. There was outside spending in Ron Wyden's favor of about $125,000. Jo Rae Perkins had $37.75 in her favor, only $8 opposed. Chris Christensen had $0 in his favor, $8 opposed. And Darren Harbick had $847 in his favor and $0 opposed. This was in the outside spending category. That wasn't a big factor in this race. I'm going to look at industries now.
Hey, you're not on the screen right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and just say good night to Steve. Good night, Steve Wolfbrand.
Good night, Steve Wolfbrand. Good night, Steve Wolfbrand. I understand you're having to get to bed tonight, or I know you get up really early. So, here we go. Ron Wyden, in securities and investments, $1.3 million. Big amount. $1.2 million from retired people, also a big amount. $590,000 from lawyers and law firms, $564,000 from real estate, $503,000 from health professionals, from insurance companies, $456,000, health services, HMOs, $375,000. In spite of all the money he gets from insurance, I think Ron Wyden, if I recall correctly, is a Medicare for All co-sponsor. He is generally pretty lefty, though not as lefty as Jeff Merkley the junior senator from Oregon. Health services and HMOs, $375,000 for Ron Wyden, $344,000 from lobbyists, $336,000 from pharmaceuticals and health products. So that's interesting. A considerable amount of money from there. Leadership PACs, $317,000. Electric utilities, $298,000. The Democratic and Liberal groups, $285,000. Hospitals and nursing homes, $216,000. Pro-Israel groups, $197,000. Beer, wine, and liquor, renewable energy, $155,000. Joe Ray Perkins got really very little money. $97.90 from Republican conservative groups, $21,000 from seniors. Very small contributions otherwise. So let's look briefly at sectors. Agribusiness, $259,000. Communications electronics, $591,000. Construction, $199,000. Fire sector, $2.7 million for Ron Wyden. He's certainly a candidate to have been captured by the fire sector. He's also the Senate Finance Committee chairman. The health sector, $1.477 million. Lawyers and lobbyists, $933,000. Miscellaneous business, $1,059,000. Ideology, single issue, $1,022,949,000. That probably comes from voters who are pro-choice. He's strongly pro-choice. The other sector, which we can't get into, has $1.6 million raised. So you begin to see who supports Ron Wyden. Business PACs, $2.5 million. Labor PACs, $174 million. Ideological PACs, $356,000. So that's his profile with respect to PACs. A lot of business PACs in the fire sector most probably support him strongly. So he's probably very friendly to that sector. Again, where does he stand on the litmus test? Small individual contributions, $1.7 million. Large individual contributions, $7.958 million, 57.48% of what he raised. PAC contributions, $3.386 million, 24.46% of what he raised. So he easily fails the litmus test. So we have 4 candidates who have bitten the dust here tonight. Our last candidate is someone who is generally thought of as a lefty, who is pretty well known. Robert Copeland presents some information that's good information for us. Brian Schatz, was appointed to the U.S. Senate on December 27, 2012, when then U.S. Senator Daniel Inouye died. Dan Inouye was a World War II hero, a rather famous senator. If Schatz was appointed and just ran in 2000, in 22, that means his first full term came out of the election of 2016. So he doesn't have to run again until 2028. So he is here for the duration. So our last candidate that we're going to look at tonight is another left-leaning candidate for the Democrats. His name is Sherrod Brown, and he should be, based on his profile and the way he votes, what he says, he should be one of the senators most strongly supported by labor unions in the country. He raised close to $29 million in 2018 was when he last ran. So if he last ran in 2018, he's coming up again in 2024. He's been in for a long time. I don't know exactly when he was first elected. I'd be grateful, if you could look that up, Robert, while I'm reporting on the financing. He spent $27,840,436. His cash on hand was $1.371,245. Of course, Sherrod Brown is running in what is now a red state. He got 53.4% of the vote. The Republican Jim Renacci got 46.6% of the vote. And specifically, Renacci raised $4.5 million, spent $4.6 million, ended with cash on hand of $42,873. Independent candidate by the name of Stephen Farris also ran. He got 0% of the vote. He raised $6,574. There was a fair amount of outside spending in the campaign, but not compared to the money raised. Sherrod Brown got $3.7 million in support of his run from outside spending, and $692,000 in opposition to his run from outside spending. So he had a net gain of $3 million roughly from the outside spending, and Renacci got $524,062 in outside spending, $56,000 against. So he was net positive in outside spending too, getting about let's say $465,000 or so in terms of a net gain from outside spending. Josh Mandel was a candidate in this race in 2018. He, of course, recently ran in 2022 and lost to J.D. Vance, but there was $110,855 in outside spending in support of him in the 2018 campaign, and $183,000 in support of Mike Gibbons in that campaign as well. However, they did not run in the final round of voting. They were primary candidates. So, where are we on the litmus test? We have, what do we have on the litmus test? We have Sherrod Brown with 53.4% of the vote, as I said before. He got 24% from small contributions. He raised $6.9 million from small contributions, but he also raised $15 million from large individual contributions. That was 53% of the money he raised, and he had PAC contributions of nearly $3.9 million, which was 13.56%. He also got $2.75 million in the other category of contributions. So we don't know where those came from. exactly. There's no data available for them. Okay, Renacci got $551,000 in small individual contributions, 1.4 million approximately in large individual contributions, and PAC contributions of 674,643. So both candidates fail the litmus test. And so Sherrod Brown bites the dust. Looking at industries, the retired sector was very important for Sherrod Brown. $2.8 million. Lawyers and law firms, very important for Sherrod Brown. $2.3 million. Education, again, very important for Sherrod Brown. $1.2 million from education. Health professionals, $988,000. Real estate, $890,000. Securities and investments, $849,000. The Democratic and Liberal group, $776,000. Insurance, $667,000. Business services, $480,000. Leadership PACs, $472,000. From lobbyists, almost $470,000. TV, movies, and music, $414,000. Women's issues, he got $394,436. He is married to Connie Schultz, who is well known as a journalist. They've been married for a very long time. He shares issues with her, of course. Those are women's issues, health issues, and labor issues. He got a lot of money from civil servants, $309,564. From environmental groups, he got $296,522. He continues to win in red states. As we see, though, he's coming up again for election in 2024. Ohio is becoming increasingly red. Huge amounts of money are going to be thrown in against him. That's for sure. Let's see how he did in labor groups here. The contributions from labor groups are hidden in this category. Maybe when we look at the sectors, we'll find them. Or when we get to PACs. But agribusiness, $310,591. Communications electronics, $1,046,920. Construction, $308,927. The fire sector, $3.2 million. Somehow the fire sector supports Sherrod Brown. Energy and natural resources, $235,000. Health, $1.6 million from various parts of the health industry sector. Lawyers and lobbyists, $2.8 million. A lot of money from lawyers and lobbyists. Labor, $481,865. That's, relatively speaking, a lot from labor because labor doesn't have as much money to spend. There's other interests. In miscellaneous business, he got $1.486 million. Ideology, single issue groups. Yeah, he's very pro-choice. $2.8 million roughly there. In the other category that we can't see, $4.7 million raised from the other category. Let's see how Sherry did among PACs. $2.7 million from business PACs, $444,500 from labor PACs, $652,000 from the ideological PACs. So he has considerable business interests to conciliate. Sherrod Brown does, but he does that successfully, and he remains as the senator. He's been the senator there for a very long time. I forget when he first came aboard. Might have been in the 1990s, though. He's been there for an awfully long time. So, but he fails the litmus test as well. And that is not a surprise. So all 5 candidates fail the litmus test. As we see once again, I'm going to go over some of the comments now. Okay, Dee, you have any comments on that?
Well, I think it's what we expected.
Yes, it's what we expected. So, so he picked up the comments where Steve Wolfbrand replied to Robert Copeland, who said, "I think Cornel West would help out the Green Party." Steve Wolfbrand says, "Robert, definitely." Kay Ryan says, "Hi all, hi Kay." Steve Wolfbrand says, "Hi Kay, are you okay?" Kay says, "Hi Steve, I'm okay." Jeff Denton leaves. He lives in Icon of some kind at 9:49. Steve Wolfbrand says, "Kay, okay." And Steve said, "Wanted to hear about Brown if he's the one from Ohio." Kay, "I'm always here for you," Steve Wolfbrand said. Kay says, "Thank you, Steve. That means a lot to me." Kay says, "I keep losing my internet." Steve says, "I got to get to bed. Good night, everybody." Kay says, "Night, Steve." Robert says, "Schatz was appointed to the U.S. Senate." Yeah, I read that before. Thank you for that information. And Robert says, Sherrod Brown took office as a U.S. Senator in 2007, which means he was elected in 2006. And now he's running in 2024. So he will have been a senator for 18 years for 3 full terms. Kay says, "Looks like Brown failed too, but still preferable to a rich GOP. Well, it comes down to that. But if he's running against a third party candidate who is not taking any big money, then since he fails the litmus test, you got to vote against him." And Robert says, "Kay, everybody has failed so far." Yes, everybody has failed so far. And so now you understand why we can't get any bills passed that are good for people, because all of the senators have taken considerable money from well-off people, and they don't particularly want to piss off those people. So that tends to moderate their stands in favor of the middle class and in favor of the working class. And it tends to moderate also what they do on issues like the climate as well, because they don't want to get too far out in front of those issues, because the well-off people who support them are not going to like that. In other words, we are prisoners of this political system because all of these candidates virtually are taking a lot of money from well-off people and are not primarily relying on small donations. This was even true of Bernie Sanders, whose campaigns have been oriented to getting small donations only. Still takes a lot of money from wealthy people. Robert Copeland says, "I would like to see one on President Biden, as I know he will fail the litmus test." Okay, I will do that for you, Robert. I want to do the last 5 of the 15 Democrats we're going to cover next time. I can tell you that those people are going to be, I can tell you who they're going to be now, because we're going to cover them on Friday. But the last five we're going to cover on the Democratic side before we go to the Republicans are going to be Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, Joe Manchin, Cory Booker, and Mark Warner, okay, of Virginia. All are parts of the leadership structure, okay, of the Democratic Party. So they're important to cover. They're, of course, all at the Senate level. After that, I want to do 15 Republicans, see what their patterns are, because that's important. And then after that, we will be through with the legislature, and I will move to the executive branch. That's the election for president. And I will look at the contributions that went to Trump and the contributions that went, okay, to Joe Biden. And I think those are going to be very illuminating. We'll probably do a whole show on those, just on that. But Friday's show is going to be on the five Democratic senators I just mentioned: Schumer, Durbin, Manchin, Cory Booker, and Mark Warner. Okay, and tomorrow's show is going to be on some issue, okay, of neoliberalism, because again, we have seen the comeback, okay, of neoliberalism through the debt ceiling fight. We hope we would not see that, but between what happened with the debt ceiling fight and what's happened with the Federal Reserve and its emphasis on monetary policy, we have neoliberalism and austerity back, okay, with a vengeance. So, on that note, okay, I think it's probably time to say goodnight. K. Ryan says, I'm sick of this country. But Kate, I think we all often have those feelings because it all looks so futile.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this is our country, and we have to fight for it. I'm sick of it too. But I have to keep fighting for it. I just don't have a choice. I don't know if you have a choice either, Kay. We just have to give it our best. And Robert Copeland said, I'd like to see one on President Biden, as I know he will fail a litmus test. I know too. And Kay says, she's sick of this country, as I just repeated. Any further comments, Dee?
Like I said, I was going to say, okay, saying she's sick of this country. Yes, that's. Yeah,
I'm
she
sorry,
doesn't
say that
fight
again.
it, Biden. I understand where Kay's coming from, and I know you do too. And that really, us doing the shows helps with feeling that at least you're trying to do something.
Yes.
To dump the corruption, you're trying to do something. Put in a position to at least discuss the issues and feel that you're doing something.
Yeah, I think we are doing something. I think the issues we've been discussing have been very important, both on your show, Kay, and on my show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very encouraged over the streams that we are putting out. I know that our attendance is very low on those streams, but I have to believe that we keep on doing it. And as the campaign heats up, the issues of big money in the 2024 campaign are going to be very, very big also. Kay says, I'm tired of fighting.
Well, the thing too is to keep sharing the stuff too. Like your shows and like I know with my shows to keep sharing it afterwards.
Yes.
People, and I think as the election season goes on, more people will pick up on what we've been talking about.
Yes, and then also the attendance will grow.
Yes. You're welcome, Kay.
Okay.
Kay says
So,
thank you, Dee. You're welcome.
yeah, I know she did. I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to keep fighting. Dee's going to keep fighting,
Mm.
and
That's the best we can do.
that's the best we can do. And we're going to keep covering what we think are the most important issues. We won't be diverted to what we think are secondary issues. And we're just going to keep targeting the most important things.
Yes, we are.
So tomorrow, okay, is neoliberalism night. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing for it yet, but I know there's a lot of material to look over
Hmm.
and a lot of issues that we can talk about. Uh, and we'll be trying to do this also in relation to the candidates, okay, as well,
Hmm.
because we have to see where the candidates stand.
Yes,
When
we
it
do.
comes to neoliberalism, we know where Joe Biden stands. He is liberal through and through. We know where Cornel West stands.
Yes.
He is anything but that. I think we know where Marianne Williamson stands. She's not neoliberal either. Uh, we don't know yet where Robert Kennedy stands. On the one hand, he gives a lot of indications that he's not like a neoliberal. But when he says he has tremendous faith in free market capitalism, I have to question his sanity.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm very favorably disposed towards Robert. Okay, I love a lot of what he said. I think
Right.
he injected a lot of real hope into this campaign when he declared.
Yeah.
But free market capitalism, I mean, God.
Well, he also, besides having progressives behind him, he also has the independent, Republicans.
Yeah, I
That,
know. It seems like both Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey are popular with him. From my point of view, both of them are political idiots. I mean, I know they're very powerful guys with their billions of dollars, okay, and with Twitter and with other things that Elon, okay, is doing, but they both are political idiots. They're only worth listening to because they're so very rich and powerful, and so their idiocy becomes propagated. But the kinds of things Robert Kennedy says about them, those kinds of things are things that are responsible for the power that neoliberalism still holds in this country, because both of them are neoliberal through and through. I'm talking about now Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey. They both are.
and the thing too is that there's a part of his base, a part of Republicans that are for Trump, but they're right now they're with, they're following Kennedy. So if Kennedy doesn't, they get the nomination or something, these people will go over to Trump.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how things break apart. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think the
think so.
Kansas is
I
going to
think
go anywhere.
it's quite likely Elon Musk would go over to Trump. Don't you think?
Yeah, I don't think DeSantis is going to get anywhere.
Huh? I'm sorry, say that again.
DeSantis is not going to get anywhere, and I think Trump's the one that he knows how to talk to. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to communicate. That's his strength, and he's got, besides his base, he's got the ability to communicate. DeSantis is, I just can't stand him anyway, but he doesn't have the ability. He's He
Yes,
doesn't like being
I
out in the crowd either. He doesn't like being out in the crowd. You can tell he's not. He's kind of short. He doesn't. You know how Hillary Clinton didn't like being really communicating with people. She wasn't the communicator. DeSantis is kind of like the same way with that.
yes, I certainly agree, and I certainly agree that Trump is far, far better. Uh, and the polls are showing that Trump is
Hmm.
killing DeSantis. He is killing him in the polls.
Hmm.
Okay, there is no question. Okay, about that. Kay says good night. But love you all. We love you too, Kay. Of course.
And Florida's a mess right now too because they can't. The farmers have been screwed. You have the immigrants leave, and even though there's other people coming in to do the work, but you have people that can't work the long hours, or they're not fast enough. There's just not enough people. The farmers are really screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Florida has a lot of problems that he's introducing.
Hmm.
He's pissing off lots and lots of people. Uh, okay, I don't think he's going to be successful in his run, but it's also possible that Trump, of course, is going to be in jail.
Uh, I think this is all about the campaign because I know that Biden too. Isn't Biden's got the papers that were found and the whole thing
Well,
going on. He's not
I
bringing
think
it
it would
out in the
be
news.
I think it would be a good thing for America if both of them ended up in jail. Personally,
Oh yeah, but I
uh,
think the fact that they fear Trump is they're putting his stuff out in the media more because they just
okay, but I think this lawsuit about the classified documents, to me, that looks very serious. I can see people just rejecting, the Manhattan lawsuit as, oh, these things are trivial. They're just trying to hang him, on trivial things. And people will say, well, sure, he broke the law, but it's not something that he ought to go to jail for. But with respect to the classified documents, uh, there are many people that would consider that to be a very, very serious crime because they set a lot of store by the classification system and keeping secrets, and that's all tied into the military industrial complex. Okay, and there are a lot of people who will be able to clearly see that Trump broke the law.
well, Hillary Clinton broke the law too, and you know what I'm saying? They all freaking there's a
No,
whole
not in the way Trump actually broke it. Okay, in other words, there are really qualitative differences. I don't know if you've been seeing the photos of the documents that Trump took. It's just, it's just extraordinary. It's simply striking. There's no one else who comes close to the volume of documents or the seriousness of those documents. And then Trump has also revealed the contents of some of those documents to people who did not have classifications. He had no right at all to do that. That's a very serious crime that people have gone to jail for years and years. And why should there be a different law for Trump?
well,
Yeah,
in Washington, certain people there is a different law for, so we've seen that.
we've seen that, but we have to insist that that's wrong. And we have to insist that there can be only one law. We have to insist already he has skated from the time he first got into the presidency. He violated the domestic emoluments clause of the Constitution and the foreign emoluments laws of the Constitution, and he was never held accountable for that. He has
Well,
skated on all kinds of things, D. It has to stop somewhere.
Know what the fear is? Because each side knows in the future there's going to be something. And if they set a standard for Trump, then they're going to be held accountable in the future for stuff.
And that
And
would be good.
it
That's
would be good, but with the
good.
way they look at it, with the
But
way they look at it,
but the point is that would be good for the political system. So if this prosecutor is taking it the whole way and a jury convicts, we can only be happy about that. I mean, we don't want this double standard of law to go on. That's
oh, I
completely
know,
inimical to democracy.
but for some reason, there's there's always
You're gonna have people.
the standards for one group and not another, and then they're projecting in the future that oh my God, what happens if so and so? Yeah, we would like that, but the elites look at it in a different.
Yes, but we are perfectly consistent in what we look at. We would like that to happen to Trump, and we would like that to happen to Biden if he's guilty as well. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
showing favoritism.
No, we're not showing favoritism,
Right.
and
And we're in the right in insisting that the people who run our government follow the law.
that would be nice.
We have to insist on it. It's not just nice, it's a requirement for
Oh, it
democracy.
is a requirement that like I said, once I don't know, at one point, were they ever held accountable? You have to kind of ask yourself: is there a point in history when they were truly held accountable?
Well, maybe let this be the point in history where it starts, because
Okay.
it's gone much too far. There's no question that, at least until the election of Jimmy Carter, well, I don't know if I'm even going to say that, because I can think of all kinds of things that presidents did that they were not held accountable for, going way, way, way back. But it's got to stop somewhere
Got to stop
at some
somewhere.
time. And if we have a prosecutor who's willing to do the job and to make the case, and a jury that's willing to convict, we have to stand by that prosecutor and that conviction. And if we get the argument from the other side, well, everybody else has done it, so why is there a bias against this guy because he did it? And the answer to that from our side has to be, well, we're not biased. Okay, if you want to go after Biden and prosecute Biden and put him in jail if you find that he's guilty, we're all for it.
Let me say something.
That's the position we have to take. Go ahead, honey.
If they let him get away with this, and Biden too, and his kids, if they let him get away with it, Biden's going to say, hey, his kids are going to say, hey, you let the president of the United States get away with it, so you better let me out of jail.
Yes, if Trump is not held accountable, then Biden also can't be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's going to be. If we want Biden to be held accountable, we have to stand for Trump also being held accountable.
That's true.
And we have to make it clear that other people are going to be held accountable too.
Right. It just can't be. It's always like the masses of people. Us regular folks that get held accountable for stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I guess I'm coming down on the side of holding people accountable. And I don't think any prejudice against Trump for wanting to hold him accountable.
Right, because you want to hold Biden accountable and everybody else up there. And
Yeah,
even where the Supreme Court is concerned, you've
yeah,
said.
I'd like to hold Joe Manchin accountable too.
Oh, that would be
I'm
wonderful.
sure he's guilty of all sorts of shady things. I mean, he's a goddamn crook from way back.
Right.
Okay, I guess. Okay, I
I guess
don't
on
know.
that note.
I guess on that note, we ought to say goodnight.
Yes, and please hit the like button, subscribe, and share.
And please buy us a coffee.
Would
We both
appreciate it.
have Buy Me a Coffee accounts. My Buy Me a Coffee account is right there on the bottom of the screen. buymeacoffee.com/Joe.Firestone. And D, what's your Buy Me a Coffee account?
Mine's D Piers at the end. Buy me a coffee, D Piers.
Okay, Buy Me a Coffee. Is it D. Piers or just D. Piers?
D Piers, DEE, and then PEERS.
Okay.
Hi, all, and good night. Hey, good night, Lana. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Lana, and good night, Lana.
All righty, let me go.
Okay. By the
Good
way,
night,
Lana.
darling.
Okay. By the way, Lana, I have finished reading the bill, the Minnesota bill. Okay. I have some questions about it. Okay. If you're still here, we can talk sometime soon about those questions. Okay. Good night.